Welcome to the CERIAS computer security seminar. Our speaker today is Juhee Kwon of Purdue University's Krannert School of Management. And she will talk on information security management and IT executives in a top management team. Juhee.
Okay, good afternoon. Nice to meet you. Welcome to coming to this presentation. Everybody can see me. I'm very short, just I worry about you can see me or not. Okay, so the topic I'm going to present today is the information security management and IT executive in a top management team. This paper is examine the relationship between the the information security management and IT executives' structural status in a firm's top management team. This is very the managerial topics. So I hope you love this. Okay. So this is the overview of this presentation. The introduction part, I will talk about the background and motivation and my research questions. And literature review, I will show some theoretical background to answer my research questions. And research model and hypothesis, the data collection and analysis, result and conclusions. But this is the structure of this presentation. Okay, let me start with introductions. The information technology provide information richness, right? So this information richness provide the powerful selling or buying power for both firms and consumers, right? But however, the digitally mediated communication and information richness has become information security the pervasive concerns for firms. So in terms of, the firm's perspective, the information asset has become the most important factor to stay competitive in a market, right? So many researchers and practitioners have told the information security issue is the enterprise-wide and strategic issues because the information security activities are very closely related to all required functions across firms, such as marketing or financial something, right? In other activities, manufacturing process. So the firms extensively use the information technology in their business processes. But however, in most of firms, the information security have focused on more IT side. They fail to see that human resource and the policy part are the most likely the causes of information security risks. So because information security is not only technology, it includes the policies, right? So all departments should follow the security policies or something like that. So this is the background. So far I explained the internal requirement for information security management. Here I want to talk about external requirement, but such as the legislative compliance requirement, the Sarbanes-Oxley. This is the one of most important pieces of the legislation affect U.S. firms. But Sarbanes-Oxley include a lot of things, but in terms of information security, we have to look at the section 404. The section 404 of the Sarbanes-Oxley address the necessity for information systems should control all financial systems or the reporting informations. So section 400 have you heard of Section 404 before? No. So the Sarbanes-Oxley has include very many things, but the Section 404 is just one part of Sarbanes-Oxley, but it is very closely related to information security. So this part include the internal controls over business processes, all firms' business processes. But those internal controls can be categorized in two types. One is non-IT internal control, and the other is the IT internal controls. In this paper, the more focus on IT internal control because we want to look at the firm's level of information security management. This paper use the Sarbanes-Oxley to measure the firm's level of information security management level, or higher or the low, something like that. Okay, so what is the IT internal controls? IT internal the Section 404 require all firms to report their IT internal control levels, the weaknesses. So it requires firms to evaluate the effectiveness of IT internal control for unauthorized access, inappropriate changes, and data corruptions. And also it requires firms to certify that information must be accurately recorded and shared in appropriate ways. Then the third one is also firms should assure confidentiality and integrity and availability of their information. Okay? Okay, so now I talk about the internal and external the requirement for information security management, right? So here, I mentioned before, information security is the enterprise-wide issues, right? The strategic issues. But all the departments should follow information security, the policies, something like that. So the collaboration is key factor for information security management. So it's the IT, but not only IT units, the all IT units or non-IT unit and other external or internal teams, right? They should collaborate for achieving successful information security management. But in 2007, Wall Street Journal told the many firms has some glass wall between IT unit and non-IT unit because due to the different mindset or different language or different perspective of social influence and the difficulty in managing changing technology. So also they emphasized the role of IT executives. In order to eliminate this glass wall, the IT executive should eliminate this wall. That is most important role, one of the most important role of IT executives. Okay, so I defined the role of one of the most important roles of IT executives is to strategically and operationally conduct liaison activities between IT and non-IT units. This is the most important role of IT executives. So the IT executives include some chief information officers, chief security officers, chief information security officers. So here I list the role of IT executives. They are responsible for governing and securing information technology. And also they conduct cross-functional role of IT executives for information securities, right? So then we have to think about how can IT executives successfully conduct their roles. They should have enough authority and peer acceptance. Still many, executives considered the IT executives as just the functional managers. So just dedicated to the technology. But that is not true, right? So they should have authority and peer acceptance in a top management team. So I got some idea from the finance or accounting literature. So I adopt the compensation and membership in a top management team as the proxies of authority and the peer acceptance. So I will explain more detail about in my literature review part. So this is the basic ideas for these papers. So I will test these topics, empirical test these topics. Okay. Okay, so here are my two main research questions. How does IT executive environment in a TMT affect information security management? How do IT executive authority and motivation created by fair compensation affect information security management? Those are main questions. Okay. Okay, so in order to answer those questions, I employed 3 streams of literature from finance or accounting literatures. The first one is about the relationship between compensation and authority and the motivations. The second stream is about pay dispersion as a structural status in a TMT. I mean, the CEO has a higher salary, but CIO has the lower compensations. So I measure those kind of the dispersions. So that is the second stream. The third stream is turnover, CIO's turnover. The many financial literature considers the turnover as discontinuity in the strategies, right? So also I considered just the CIO, the IT executives turnover, okay? So those are 3 main streams. So let me explain the first stream. So this is about the relationship between compensation and delegation of authority and motivations. So many the accounting papers studied compensation as ex-ante effect on the firm's performance. They considered compensation, the high compensation can give some high motivation. So the executives can conduct strong initiative for innovative activities. So in the 2002, the Najar argued the positive link between the extent of delegation of authority and incentive compensations. And Holthausen in 1995, he told the positive relationship between the subsequent innovative activities and compensation contract. So also the MIS areas, Yalya and Hugh in 2008, they told high IT executive compensation increased the overall firm's performance. Okay, so I put the literature, but there are many literatures on this relationship between compensation and motivation and authority like that. Okay. Okay, so the second stream is about the pay dispersions as the structural status. So the prior literature told the pay dispersion hurt executive collaboration by creating perceptual and substantive barriers. So the Hendrickson and Fredrickson in 2001, they told the greater coordination needs encourages smaller compensation gaps. But here are 2 conflicting views. Some literature told pay dispersion, gave some strong motivation because the pay dispersion encourages some competition in a team. But the other part told pay dispersion hurt the collaboration in a team. Just we in our data say the different things, but I will explain that later. Okay. Okay, in the third stream is about the turnover as discontinuity of strategies. So just we look at IT executive turnover, so we focus on IT, the discontinuity of IT strategies. So the prior paper told lower rate of turnover means the better performance due to the continuity in firm's strategies. The high turnover may disrupt organizational continuity and hurt firm's performance. So this is the main theory on the turnover. So this paper assumed the IT executive turnover means the discontinuity in IT strategies. So we expect the negative effect. Okay. So far I explained the background and motivations and the theory background. So based on those things, I construct these research models. The first one is IT executive membership in a TMT. It can affect the firm's information security management, and it includes confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So if firms has IT executive in a TMT, then we can test the IT executive structural status in a TMT, right? So then compensation structure can affect information security management. Then the third one is IT strategy continuity can affect information security management. Those are main research models in this paper. Okay, so before I go into detail into my hypothesis, so I want to explain how to measure the firm's level of information security management. So I adopted two variables to measure the information security management. But I want to check whether this firm conduct well or not, right? So I adopted two variables. The first one is information breach instance. The second one is IT internal control weaknesses. I checked. I measured whether this firm experienced information breach incidents. So it reflects a firm's ability in preventing disclosure of information to unauthorized individual or systems, right? And the second one is IT internal control weaknesses in the firm's annual report. So I checked the firm's annual report. So this also reflects firm's ability in maintaining confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So I checked those two variables. So based on these two variables and my theoretical background, from the theories from previous researchers, this is the research model in this paper. Okay. Okay, so here I want to explain each hypothesis. I built the 8 hypotheses. The H1A and H1B are about IT executive membership in a TMT. So I put the hypothesis, the possibility of information security breach and IT internal control weaknesses are negatively associated with the IT executive environment in a TMT. Right? So here is the H1A and H1B. So these are about the IT executive membership in a TMT. So if firms has IT executive, if firms doesn't have IT executive in a TMT, we cannot. That is impossible to check IT executive's structural status, right? So if firm has IT executive in their top management team, then we can check their structural status in a TMT. So the hypothesis 2 and 3, 4 is about the IT executive structure status in a TMT. The H2A and H2B are that the possibility of information security breach and the IT internal control weaknesses are negatively associated with IT executive compensation levels. So, in another word, if IT executives get high compensation, then firm can more successfully achieve information security management. So this hypothesis means that kind of things. Okay? Okay, so the next hypothesis is about the pay dispersion. Here, I check the difference between IT executives compensation and non-IT executive compensations. So I calculate this dispersion. So I put this hypothesis. The possibility of information security breach and IT internal control weaknesses are associated with pay dispersion between non-IT and IT executives. I didn't say positively or negatively, but it's just I want to check how pay dispersion affect the level of firm's information security management. I will show the result in the last part. Okay. Okay, this is the turnover. So I consider turnover as the turnover means discontinuity in the IT strategies, right? So here is two hypotheses: the possibility of information security breaches and IT internal control weaknesses are positively associated with IT executive turnover, right? So if firms has the many names IT executives on the title, that means there are many discontinuity in IT strategies. So this discontinuity increased the possibility of information breaches and weaknesses in their IT internal controls. Okay, so those are my hypotheses. Okay, do you have any questions? So is it too fast or it's okay? Okay. So I introduce my hypothesis. Then I will tell how to collect data to test those hypotheses. The first one is the information security breaches. I collect information security breaches from the LexisNexis and CNET and GNet by searching newswires by the keyword and the information security breaches, identity theft, hacking or site attack, virus, data theft, or privacy breaches. Just I search the newswires by using this keyword. So you guys know the LexisNexis, right? This is the database for all the newswires. So I use this database. And the second variable is the IT internal control weaknesses. I collect this data from audit analytics database in Watson research database systems. So all firms report their IT internal control weakness in their annual report. This database contained all kind of IT control weaknesses in the audit analytics database. So I use this database. Okay. So in the TMT compensation structures, also the public firm should report their compensation structures. So the executive compensation database contains all information about compensations in public firms. Okay. So I use those three data resources to collect the variables. Okay, so here, this table shows how I define the variables with those data resources. The breach means the information security breach. This data source is Lexis and CNET and GNET. So this is the binary variables. If firm I had information security breach, this variable is 1. And otherwise this is 0. The internal control weakness variables, this is also binary variables. The firm I had IT internal control weaknesses in their annual report and ERT, this variable is 1. Otherwise, 0. And the TDC is the compensation, the executives' compensations. This is include the salary, the bonus, and stock and option award and others. So this paper categorized this compensation into the 3 categories: the short-term compensation, long-term compensation, and total compensations. The short-term compensation include the salary and bonus. The long-term compensation include the stock and option award. The total is the combined both of them. Okay. The next is the next variable is IT executive environment. So this is also binary variables. If firm I had an IT executive in its top management team, this variable is 1. Otherwise, this is 0. Okay, pay dispersions. This is the difference between the average IT executive compensation and average non-IT executive compensations. Okay. The turnover variables. Just simply I count the number of IT executives' name in one IT executive title. For example, in the CIO title, there has 2 names. That means they have the CIO was changed, right? During that year. So that is the number of the IT executives' names. Okay, the IT intensity and the firm values. Those are control variables. Just I want to control firm's performance, like the sales or something. But I adopt ROA values. Then IT intensity is just I want to control the industry differences. So this is calculated. I calculated these variables, the IT equipment divided by full-time employment. This is the IT intensity values. Okay. Okay. Okay, so I talked about each variables. Then I put some descriptive statistics about those data. The first, the firm with breaches and weaknesses. I collect firms data between 2003 and 2008. I had 1,148 firms, but among those companies, just 338 breaches happened. Between 203 and 208, and the 158 firms had weaknesses between 204 and 208. Because the Sarbanes-Oxley announced at 2003, so I just collect internal control weaknesses between 2004 and 2003. Okay, so just the 37% didn't have any breach and weaknesses. Just 16% of firms experienced breaches, and 11% of firms experienced weaknesses. But the small number of firms experience both breaches and weaknesses. It's just I ignored that kind of firms. Just I put those things. Okay. Okay, so next is the breaches. This chart shows that the breakdown of types of breaches. I categorize breaches into the three types: the integrity and availability and confidentiality. The integrity includes some virus or program or the system errors. The availability includes some site attack or virus something. The confidentiality means the data stolen or illegal selling something. So 73% is about confidentiality issues, and 18% is integrity breaches, and 9% is the availability breaches. Okay, the next is about IT control weaknesses. Here, the IT control weaknesses are categorized in 4 types: confidentiality and control issues, and reliability and integrity. Okay. Okay, so we look at the breakdown of types of breaches and types of internal control weaknesses. Then I compared the value of major variables with the forms with the breach and IT internal control weaknesses. In the first 4 variables, the compensation, pay dispersion, turnover, IT intensity, the 3 types of forms has the similar values. But in the ROA, the forms with internal control weaknesses have a lower ROA. I think I thought the internal control weaknesses included some kind of financial issues. That's why the firms with internal control weaknesses has the lower ROA something. Okay. So those are the descriptive statistics. So before I test the research model, I need to check multi-coordinality problems. This table shows the correlation matrix among all variables. But this correlation matrix has the lower values, so it doesn't seem to have any multi-coordinality concerns in this data. So I also tested the regression test. The tolerance is, all tolerance values are above 0.1, and all variance inflation values are less than 1.4. Those are threshold values. Okay, so we checked the correlation problem, so now we can test the research models. I simply use the multivariate logistic regressions. So I'm still working on this paper, so I try to find the complicated model to combine other effects. This is the first my model. Okay, so I have 4 models to test my hypothesis. The first one, the first model test hypothesis 1A. The dependent variable is the possibility of information, the security breach incidents, right? In the independent variables include the IT executive environment in a TMT, IT EXT, right? And this model has 2 control variables, right? So once a firm has IT executive in its TMT, we can check their structural status in a TMT. Then in the second model has the possibility of information security breaches as the dependent variables. As the independent variables, it has total compensation, the compensation variables, and pay dispersion, and turnover, and other 2 control variables. Okay. So next 2 models test IT internal control weaknesses with the independent variables. dependent variable is the possibility of IT control weakness, IT internal control weaknesses. So the third model has the IT executive environment in a TMT and other control, the two control variables. In the last model, it has compensation, pay dispersion, and turnover, and other two variables. Okay, so this is the multivariate logic regression models. Okay, so I run this model then I got this result. So in terms of the possibility of information security breaches, the research model supports 3 hypotheses, but it failed to support the last hypothesis about turnover. Right? So here, the IT executives environment has the negative, the minus 0.36. This is the significant, right? So it means IT executives environment means the reduction in information security breaches, right? And compensation has also the negative, the values with a significant sign. Here I put the short-term compensation and long-term compensation and total compensations. The compensation level is always significant in the all portion of compensations, right? So then the pay dispersion. This is the pay dispersion has also significant effect, but this sign is negative. I think this is interesting because I told pay dispersion means the collaboration, right? But here, the larger dispersion means decreased information security breaches. That means the larger IT executive compensation compared with the non-IT executive compensations, the decreased the possibility of information security breaches. So that means the IT executive authority is more important than collaboration, right? So next time I will talk about this again. Okay, turnover, but it has the negative sign, but this is not significant here. Okay, the next, the result is about IT internal control weaknesses. Here, the IT executive environment also has a negative sign, the negative 0.72. This is significant. And the compensation has also negative values in all portion of compensations. But in the pay dispersion and turnover hypothesis, this model partially support this hypothesis. They fail to support hypothesis in the long-term compensations. Just in the short-term compensation and total compensations, it works. The pay dispersion has still the negative sign. So in the IT control weaknesses, the larger IT executive compensation is the positive effect to preventing the IT internal control weaknesses. Okay, so here the turnover is the significant in the short-term and total compensations. Okay, so I explained all results about my research model. Based on this model, I put some implications. The first, IT executive environment in a TMT is associated with significant reduction with both information security breaches and IT internal control weaknesses, right? So the hypothesis 1, the 1A and 1B support these things. And the second, the high compensation positively affect ensuring information security, right? The hypothesis 2A and 2B, they explain these implications. Okay, so the pay dispersions between non-IT and IT executives. The higher IT executive compensation means the less possibility of information security breaches and IT internal control weaknesses, right? So I told authority is more important than collaboration for firms' information security management, right? I think that, I think it makes sense, right? Okay, so in the turnover, I got some complete the result. Remember in the result, in terms of IT internal control weaknesses, here turnover has the positive values. Originally, I expect negative values because turnover means the discontinuity in IT strategies. But here, turnover has the positive value, right? But in terms of breaches, the possibility of breaches, here the negative value. But this is not significant, right? So just I tried to find some implication from those results, but just it is still didn't find yet. But just I can say there is the compound effect of turnover, right? So there is the conflicting views on firm's performance. Some paper told turnover means discontinuity in strategies, but other paper told the person can show the highest performance in their first year, right? So just I look at previous 3 years turnover. So that's why this result shows some complete the effect. So I plan to look at the longer years for measuring the IT executive turnover. Okay. Okay, so this is the last page of this presentation. So just I put the limitations. So, but this model didn't include the individual educational experience on their compensations. I need to consider the individual's the educational experience. Then the second thing is I need to analyze the comprehensive panel data set. Just I want to know after a firm experience the breach and the internal control weaknesses, what happened to IT executives? Is there any difference in the IT executive compensation or their structural status? Just I want to add this part of in this paper. Then I need to measure more explicit IT executive responsibilities. Just I assumed the liaison activity is the most important role of IT executives. So I need to more specific the measure for IT executive responsibilities. Okay, so this is all I want to talk today. We have 5 minutes.
Okay. Any questions? I have one. What does ROA stand for?
The return on asset. So Okay.
So then what you found was that if you pay the guy in charge of computer security more, then the computers really will be more secure. Is that right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the basic, I assume the security is not only the technology issues. You guys most of you come from the engineering part, right? But yeah, so I think security, the policy, this is more important on the security management in the firm. So just I want to approach those perspectives. So my minor is the marketing. My major is the management information systems. I also look at, I want to combine the information security and privacy issues into marketing strategy in the internet market. So the one of my paper studies how to enhance the consumer's willingness to establish online B2C relationship in the internet market. But if they feel that this firm secure their information, consumers can willing to provide their personal information to the firm, right? So providing personal information means the establishing online B2C relationships. So in management department, there are many people studies this kind of things. Okay, so.
Any other questions? Okay, well, let's thank you.